with one-to-one therapeutic approach for the patients who are in need of yoga therapy. So this is in brief about the legend, legendary Krishnamacharya ji and his organization, that is Krishnamacharya Yoga Mandiram. So this tradition is what Dr. Sridharan ji belongs to. He has been following the Krishnamacharya ji tradition of yoga teaching and therapy. He is a Sri Sridharan ji is a senior yoga therapist. He is a consultant and mentor in the Krishnamacharya Yoga Mandiram. He was initiated to yoga by Sri TKV Deshikacharji in 1980s, and he learned the art and science of yoga in the Gurukula style for almost 3 decades. So his enormous amount of experience as a Shishya of Sri Deshikacharji has made Sridharanji today as one of the very well-renowned yoga exponent of the country. And he was so passionate that even he decided to leave his profession as a merchant banker and dedicate his full time for the cause of yoga education and yoga therapy. So he has been representing our country in various national and international forum. He is also the governing body for the Morarji Desai National Institute of Yoga, which is the apex body for yoga in the Ministry of Ayush in the government of India. And he also chairs the subcommittee for the syllabus drafting for yoga therapy certification from the government of India. And also he is also the yoga expert in WHO Technical Review Committee for developing the M Yoga mobile applications. So his contribution has been enormously recognized, and he has been bestowed with very prestigious Dronacharya Award. So I'm very happy to present Dr. Sridharanji for all of you. Sir, we are looking forward to listen to you.
Namaste, Professor Bindu, Professor Ravindra, and participants of the webinar and viewers. Let me start this talk with a prayer to my teachers, Krishnamacharya and Deshikacharya, about whom Professor Ravindra said. Shri Krishna Vagish Yatishwarabhyam Samprapta Chakrankana Bhashya Saram Srinotnarangendra Yatau Samarpitasvam Shri Krishna Mariyan Guruvariyamide Virodhe Kartike Mase Shatatara Krutodayam Yogacharyam Krishnamariyan Guruvariyamaham Bhaje Krishna Suri Dayapatram Jnanavairagyabhushanam Srimad Venkatanathāryam Vandegam Yogadeshikam Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. I will also recite a prayer, Vedic prayer, before we go into the topic. It's a very interesting prayer. Om Madhuvatarutayate Madhukshranti Sindhavah Madhvīna Sandhoshadhihi Om Madhunaktamudhoshasi Madhumat Parthivagum Rajaha Madhutyaurastuna Pitam Om मधुमानो वनस्पतिर्मधुमागुमस्तु सूर्यः माध्वीर्गावो भवन्तु नः. It says for us who are the devotees of the Supreme Truth. May the wind blow sweetly. May the rivers flow sweetly. May the herbs be to us sweet and beneficial. May there be sweetness during the day and during the night. May the particles of the earth be carrying sweetness forever. May the heaven, our Father, be sweet to us, benevolent to us. May the fruit bearing trees be sweet to us. May the sun be sweet and benevolent to us. May the cow give us the sweetest milk. There are a lot of such wonderful Shanti Patas, and I took this up for this occasion. Uh, the first, I want to give an introduction and a disclaimer. The studies, chakra study, knowledge, and practice is a part of yogic science. Yoga traces its origin to Vedas, and there are different traditions and paramparas. Paramparas assigned to divinities. This is the most interesting thing. The paramparas we are talking about now, modern day, is also okay, but the parampara comes from the basic, from the Vedic time itself, particularly from the Puranas. So there are yogas assigned to Brahma, Vishnu. Brahma, for example, Yoga Yajnavalkya Samhita. It starts saying Yajnavalkita, Gargi Artha Yajnavalkita about yoga. He says, let me explain as it was explained to me by Brahma. Vishnu, of course, Bhagavad Gita is one, Yoga Shastra. The second is, Patanjali is considered to be Avatara of Adishesha, the servant of, chief servant of Vishnu. Naturally, Patanjali's Yoga Sutra may come under this category. Shiva, particularly, Shiva Samhita, Geranda Samhita, Hatha Yoga Pratipika, called Adinatha. Shakti, that is where one of the important aspects about Kundalini Yoga, this comes under the Shakti tradition. So there are various paramparas that we must keep that in mind. Different visions and hence different versions. The question is, how can there be so many versions? The versions of yoga are different visions based on the experience. Kundalini, for example, this is where I start with a disclaimer. Kundalini is considered to be Shakti in some spot, and today I'm going to present this tradition as Avidya. We will see how it is. So there are some differences, but the same word, same concept. What moves up? Is it Kundalini or Prana? This also, of course, there are variations, and we will try to look into them today. Finally, this presentation is not exhaustive and comprehensive completely, but just an introduction. The guidance of an acharya is a must. I want to give this because when one wants to get into chakras for a practice, and by just hearing this or by just looking into the slides and hearing these words, one cannot. There are a lot of books, there are some CDs, YouTube, but it is ideal to go through an acharya. Even the yoga of any type, for that matter, it is highly recommended to go through a teacher. Let me first talk with the word chakra. Chakra, a Sanskrit word, generally means the wheel of a carriage, a potter's wheel, circular missile, weapon, disc, particularly the one found in the hands of Vishnu. This is the meaning that you get. But how is it related to the present talk, the topic? Let us see. In yoga, it's a special technical term denoting certain spots inside the body. Most important. Of course, there are some ideas about the word chakra in the form of the wheel, etc. But they are actually technical terms. We cannot directly translate them. In fact, one of the things that I would like to share with all is when we are on the topic of yoga, a lot of terms cannot be translated and should not be translated. Even the word yoga, we are not translating the word yoga. And chakra is chakra, and it is a special term that is denoting certain spots inside the body. Chakras are also called, for example, as Granthi. In Hatha Yoga Pratipika, it is called as a Granthi, Vishnu Granthi, Brahma Granthi, Shiva Granthi. Granthi means a tie or a knot. or of a cord. That is the word meaning that you get. Then in that case, knot or tie of what? Knot or tie of what? And that is nadi. That leads us to the next point of nadi. And nadi's word meaning is tube. Tube means it carries something, and nadis are the carriers of prana in our system. So let us see how we have to approach the chakra itself. Unless we understand the concepts behind all this properly, our understanding of chakra will not be complete. So nadis are the carriers of prana in our system. What is prana? So we have come to the bottom first and foremost. Unless we understand prana and its role in our human system, the understanding of the chakras will be limited or may not be complete, and it will not be completed. So let us go into prana. So that means we need to get into evolution. So human beings are a part of nature, the phenomenal world we see and experience, and this is called Prakriti. And the word is that which evolves. And nature and human beings are made up of three basic elements called gunas, qualities, attributes. In fact, the word guna again cannot be translated. It is also a special technical term. And these gunas are three in number, and they are called sattva, rajas, and tamas. These three together constitute the material cause of the universe that we are seeing, including the human beings. We too have in us a part of Prakriti made up of these three. Together, these three are called as Rai. And there is another technical term. The cosmic evolution is a disturbance of the equilibrium of the three gunas. Now, according to Prashna Upanishad, one of the important Dashopanishads, a very important Upanishad from the point of view of yoga, understanding. The first in the creation are Rai and Prana. And Rai is sometimes described as matter and Prana as energy. Prana as energy, Prana is also given different terms, but I would like to use the word energy for Prana. And there are some ideas the way in which I am presenting it. So what is the first in the evolution? Is prana. Now let us go, for example, let us get into the Panchamaya model, human anatomy. And one important thing about chakras when we want to understand is to understand the yogic human anatomy. We have anatomy of the Western science, and human anatomy, according to yoga, has more dimensions, of which one dimension is this Panchamaya model. This is a bit important to know. We have now understood prana to be energy, that which moves anything in the universe. Wherever you see any energy movement, that is a part of prana. It could be any form of energy. Now, there is an important Upanishad of this Upanishad, which is called the Taittiriya Upanishad. And in the Anandavalli of the Krishna Yajurveda segment, we get this idea of Panchamaya. Maya generally means consisting, composed of, made of, full of. We sometimes call Kanakamaya, that means made up of gold. Kanakamaya means this particular article is made up of gold. So, just an example. So, all the Pancha means five. There are five segments in the human anatomy, and they are filled up, composed of certain materials. So, Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya, and Anandamaya. The five segments of the human system, and each consists of made of different material. Each has, and each one of them has got five segments, interestingly. Shiras, head, Dakshina Paksha, right side, Uttara Paksha, left side, Atma, body, and Pucham, tail. In fact, it is like a bird model we teachers used to call and tell us. I will show you a slide where we can even look at the bird model. For the middle segment, the word Atma is used. For the middle segment, look at it. So Shirasa head, Dakshina, Uttara, and Atma. Atma is the body segment, and the word used is not body, but equivalent word of body, but Atma. Hence, teacher says each Maya is called Annamaya Atma, and that means there is to connote that each is an independent live entity. So each is an independent live entity and they are connected. They are connected, and we are going to see how they are linked also. Now, this is one idea, just one model of how a Purusha is inside, and the various segments are there, starting from Annamaya, which is outside, Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya, and Anandamaya. So, for example, Annamaya is physical, Pranamaya is breath, Prana energy part, Manomaya is the intellect, Vijnanamaya is personality, individual personality, Anandamaya are our emotions completely. This is the bird model, like a head, right side, left side, body and tail. The idea is as a bird wants to move, it has to use the right side and left side. So those concepts, ideas given about the right and left side are very important, they balance. And the body is more important, the head is important, the tail that decides the direction, basically, the way in which it moves. Now, in the Panchamaya, Pranamaya, Annamaya, there is just our head, right side, left side, and we must know that balancing is more important. That's why they have said right side, left side. And the body, our total body, and tail, pucha. Pranamaya, most important. Prana is the head, Vyana is the right side, Apana is the left side, Akasha is the Atma, and Prithvi is the Pucha. So it is in between Akasha and Prithvi. Akasha and Prithvi comes under the 5 important elements about which I said earlier. So between them comes the prana. One way of understanding is the nadis are also made up, according to our teacher, they say, look at the nadi, which is the carrier of the prana. It has got a prithvi, which is the outside, which is made up of. Prithvi here does not directly mean only the earth. It is something, a material made up of. And akasha is inside. And because of the space inside, the prana moves. Talks about nadi side. Manomaya. Here, in fact, the emotions could be taken to Anandamaya. Our Manomaya exactly represents our knowledge, to tell you the truth, more than the emotions, opinions, vasanas, which I have written here. Most important is like Yajurveda, Rigveda, Samaveda, modern day. In fact, what we are now talking about, these are all coming under the Manomaya level. Whatever Manomaya is common to every one of us. And Adesha, command of the god, Atharva Veda is considered to be the tail. Vijnanamaya, Shraddha, head, Ritam, truth, truth as it is, Satyam, truth as it is applied, Yoga, practice, and Mahat, Buddhi is the, and Mahat is what determines. Vijnanamaya is our individual personality trait, etc. Anandamaya, that is the emotion part of it, is Priya, Moda, Pramoda. Priya means happiness, Moda, Pramoda. Ananda is the highest bliss, and Brahma Pucham Pratishta. So that which is driving is the highest. Let me go to and quickly talk about the Annamaya, physical body nourished by food, physical body, stomach, etc. Asana works on that. Pranamaya, energy body nourished by prana, physiological functions of the body, digestion. Pranamaya, mudras. In fact, the chakras are going to come here. Manomaya, education, nourished by education, cognitive, chanting, nyasa. Vijnanamaya, body of belief, nourished by Mahat, psychological dhyana helps. Anandamaya, Anandamaya, body of bliss, nourished by Ananda, and it's spiritual and it is the Guru relationship which can. Now I'm taking up the pranamaya kosha, especially made up of and nourished by prana. Prana sustains the pranamaya kosha, one of the five mayas. Prana, head, right side Vyana, left side Apana, body Akasha. I told you already. Prana is the chief. Apana is the most important for elimination of impurities, and Vyana all over the body. The pranamaya is made up of nourished by prana. Yes. Of the five, the three are important. Prana is chief, apana is elimination, vyana all over the body. In fact, our teacher used to say, if there is a stroke, they say there is a problem in the vyana. They used to say, because of akasha, prana goes into the body. Now, in the pranamaya kosha, in this subtler vehicle runs the current of prana, flowing along well-marked channels, nadis, into every organ and part of the body and vitalizing them important ways. This is where we are starting. Most important point is this prana which is in us, which we understand only like air, prana cannot be seen. But as we feel the air, prana is felt through our energy. We are low on energy. That means our prana is low in the system. At the human level, it is prana which activates the body through the flow in nadis and all the mental activities as well, both. Nadi means generally tube, I told you already. Nadis are tube-like structures through which prana travels in the human body. There are 72,000 nadis in the human system. This number varies from text to text. Sometimes they say 72,000 on one side itself. Some say totally 72,000. But the most important thing is they end at various parts of the body, and there is a starting point called Kantasthana, which is given in the Yoga Yajnavalkya Samhita, which is going to be near, which is same like Mooladhara, which we are going to see in the chakra segment. From the Kandasthana, all the nadis will move. It will go up and it will even come down because we get nadis right up to our feet and right up to our head. So this Kandasthana somewhere at the end of our spine, it is there. Among the nadis, 14 are important. Among these, three are important. They are Ida, Pingala, and Shishuna. So nadis are the carriers of prana. Prana, most important part, of course, whether we believe or we don't believe, prana is there. And without prana, nothing will move in our system or even in the universe. In our system, this prana is carried by the nadis, of which 14 are important. They start from the Kandasthana and move towards various parts. In fact, they stop at various places like and sometimes the nadis also get the name like Ida, Pingala, Sushumna, Krakara, like that. There are nadis which, and they say the nadis, the function is when the prana is carried in the nadi and it reaches that spot, which is called Marmasthana, and those the places get energized. Ida is on the left side of the nostril and represents moon, cool, and Pingala on the right side of the nostrils and represent heat. This is another important concept we must know before we proceed. Yajnavalkya Samhita talks about it specifically. Our body is 96 angula long. Angula means finger. Angula is like this. This is 4 angulas for us. So for me, 4 angulas represent this. It is for our individual, each individual finger levels. So prana extends beyond the body. This angula is something which you should remember because when we are talking about the chakras, we are going to say this chakra is 2 angulas above. It is not exactly 2 inches. It is angula of our own measurement. Very important because you would have probably come across by now. You would have heard already a talk, and hence there would have been some ideas about so many angulas above this chakra. So the angula here means our individual this thing. So we cannot put a measuring tape and say this is from here to here. Prana, important, extends beyond the body by 12 units of this, like this, 12 units up from the top of the head by the sides and down, as the diagram shows. Whoever brings the prana within the measure of the body. By using the body fire is the best among those who is the realized Brahman and is worthy of worship. This is what Yajnavalkya Samhita in the fourth chapter says. So we are now going slowly from outside to inside to see, because the chakras are in the center basically, and the prana is going to move there. And most important is why it is not there, how to take it there. These are all the things which are very important for us to know. Let us look at prana and body. When the mind is unsteady and confused, more prana is beyond the body than within. Very important to know. This we would not have given a thought to it. It's very important. When the mind is unsteady and confused, the prana beyond the body, and that is why we often even say that I'm tired. We get stressed, and the stress leads to tiredness because the stress takes the unsteadiness and confusion in the mind, and that leads to the depletion of prana, and the depletion of prana results in the energy depletion. The measure of prana beyond the body is more when we are not at ease, and therefore the prana within the body decreases in quantity, particularly quality. The measure of prana beyond the body is less when we are, the measure of prana outside is less when we are quiet. In fact, we do pranayama. I'm going to tell you about this more that, and sometimes even if you sit down in a we are confused, we are unsteady, we feel we are loss of energy. What we do, we go around for a walk, or we go and sit in some nice, music concert or whatever it is. The moment the mind becomes quiet, what happens to us? How do we feel energized? We would not have even taken anything. The moment the mind is quietened, the prana will be inside the body. So that is another important thing. Purpose of practice of pranayama is to confine more and more prana within the body. Important to be understood. The purpose of practice of pranayama is to confine more and more prana within the body. This have got a direct link with the chakras. I am going to come one by one. Let us look how the pranayama helps in conservation. Prana, which is outside. Actually, we get prana through three sources. One is food, another is water, the third is air. In fact, that is very simple. If we are starved of food, because prana is the chief energy, in making us alive. If one is denied food, one person lives for so many days. Water, one can live on water only for so many days. On air, one can live, but beyond that, it is not possible if we stop the breath. So three sources of prana which we are getting. Actually, we are all born with an amount of prana, and goes on. Actually, it is something like a prana is taken, prana is spent, goes away. So this is cycle. It's just like electricity only, the way in which generation is. And they always say in electricity, the most important is generation and distribution. There is the storage is the most difficult. Similarly, there is generation and distribution in the system of prana also. The prana is not able to enter the body because something is there which are impurities. Why I say the word enter means, even if I have taken food, it has to become an energy and has to get into the various parts. And most important is the impurities. So at the mental level, the impurities, mala, are both gross and subtle. As I have shown in the diagram here on the left side, you can see there is a place called Apana place, which is below our navel, you can see. And below the navel is the bin for us. That is where all the impurities stays. At the mental level, the impurities are fleshes. These impurities are collected and held at the place of apana, which is below the navel. In fact, one of even modern day science, they are saying we should not have more excess flesh below the navel. It is unhealthy. In the ancient days, they were talking about this part of apana to be kept in good shape. Apana vayu, which is there, the vayu or the prana's representation there is apana. A prana itself is only one, but when it comes to functions, it becomes pancha pranas, and there are upa pranas. Prana at the level of the hridayam, that is chest. Kudeyapanam, below the navel, it is called apana. It is responsible for excretion. Excess is also a problem. If there is excess, it is also a problem. Shortness of breath, or difficulty in holding the breath, or difficulty in making exhalation longer indicates there is more of apana, there are more of impurities, toxins in modern today's thing. Now, what is the role of pranayama? There is a fire in the human system which is located just between prana and apana. If we put our hand somewhere near the navel, just near the navel, the Jataragni is there. Actually, our human system is made up of, according to the ancient model of human anatomy, it is made up of the Pancha Bhutas, and every cell has got the Bhutas, Pancha Bhutas. But there are larger segments of them at some places. And Yajnavalkya Samhita talks about it. It says between feet to up to the knee or slightly about that is the Prithvi. That is the place of the earth. In fact, we stand on that, we sit on that. From knee up to navel is particularly below the navel is the spot of water. Just above the navel is the fire, Agni, and in the chest is the Vayu, and above the nostril, top of the head is space. This is one way of representing the Panchabhutas in our human system. So this Jataragni, which is just above the navel, which is responsible for a lot of things, is in between the prana and apana, and the seat of this fire is near the navel. And on inhalation, please understand that pranayama helps, and there is a link between this pranayama and the chakras. On inhalation, there is a downward movement of the breath, and this downward movement of the breath creates a current as in a tube which draws the flame downwards. Every time you inhale, visualize that this fire is pushed downward, because fire always is up only. That is why it is called Agni. Agram Nayati iti Agni. That is, it's always upward. If you look at any fire for that matter, even if you make the fire stand up, it stands only this way. Even if you put it down, it will be going up. That is the reason. Now, it is the heat of this flame which is turned down, which burns the dirt, mala. During exhalation, the burnt. So we have taken an inhalation. It has pushed the fire down, and in fact, sometimes hold helps in burning it. And in the exhalation, the burnt impurities are taken out. This is cyclical. So results every pranayama results in this cyclical movement like this. Prana and apana flame upward during conscious exhalation, downward during inhalation. And let us now get into the nadis and chakras. We looked at the nadis, and three nadis are important: Shushumna, Ida, and Pingala. Shushumna is situated in the middle, is called the path of liberation. It's called Brahmarandra also, and is the nourisher of the universe, nourishes the system. Ida and Pingala are on the left and right side. I'm just giving one diagram to show. You would have seen this number of times. The meeting point of the three nadis are called chakras. They are 6 7, 10. There are varying numbers. Shat Chakra, one of the ancient text calls is a Shat Chakra, 6. And 7 is the popular one, which we are seeing here. And 10, I am going to show you today about how the 10 chakras are also found and given, particularly in our tradition. So we can see on the left side, it starts from Mooladhara, Swadhisthana, Manipuraka, Anahata, Vishuddhi, Agnya, and Sahasrara. This is very well known. And they are the meeting points. And one thing is Kundali, also called Kundalini, is at the mouth of the base of the three nadis. This Kundalini, blocks prana from moving into Sushumna. It blocks the prana from moving into Sushumna. By the use of pranayama, which we saw now, along with bandhas, most important. Use of bandhas are very important in pranayama. I'm going to also discuss this from another text called Yoga Taravali, interestingly, which talks about this pranayama and bandhas and the chakras together. The Kundalini is awakened and prana moves into Sushumna. I told you in the beginning, is it Kundalini which moves or is prana moves? This is where there is going to be some differences in the approach given under various traditions. Particularly the Hatha Yoga Pratipika, the tradition of Krishnamacharya, they believe in the awakening of the Kundalini is believed, but what moves is prana inside Sushumna. In fact, it is a prana and apana which joins together and moves up. And when they join together, they get the name of prana. Prana apana yoho aikyam pranayama. Hatha yoga, ha and ta, meeting. These are all the things that we get in the tradition of Hatha yoga. And the movement is prana which enters into the Sushumna, which is the path of Brahmarandra, which is the path of liberation. Now, there are various models of this type, of which I am just showing you one. You can look into it. You can Google. You can see everywhere in the net and everywhere. There are images of these chakras. In fact, the chakras, even though they are called chakras, they are like lotus petals. There are like the lotuses also. Literally, are they literally a chakra? Is there anything like a movement? Yeah. For example, our teacher Krishnamacharya used to say, if there are movements in that, when we inhale, this so-called chakra moves in a clockwise direction, and when we exhale, it moves in an anti-clockwise direction. That approach is also given. That concept of idea is also given. The Sahasrara, and let us start with the Mooladhara. And most important thing which I would like to share is the names of all these chakras ideally is to be kept in the same way with the Sanskrit name. These are all technical terms, and there are some reasons why probably these names have been given. In fact, when we take in yoga various terms, some of them, if we relate them with the meaning, they may be clear. Some of them may not be clear, but there is some reason for that. For example, let us take the asanas, the yogasanas. The yogasanas have been given names in Sanskrit. Sanskrit names are there. And some of them may not give. See, the names may represent a form. For example, there is an asana called a Veerabhadrasana. So it will be like a Veerabhadra. Veerabhadra is one of the commander-in-chief of the Shiva's army. And if you look in the temple, that Veerabhadra is a particular form. So the asana has a particular form resembling Veerabhadra. And you have got Chakravaha, it's a bird. and you have got asanas which represents certain words. The form is there. But let us take the name of Pachimattanasana, which is one of the asana. Actually, this is more about the function. Pachima Uttana, there is something happening at the back. There is a stretch. Uttana comes from the word Tanu Vistare. It stretches. Unless you get the stretch, you feel the stretch. It is not a pain. You feel the stretch. You have not done the Pachimattanasana properly. It is not the classical form alone which is more important. It is the function that is more important. So this particular asana's name, Pachimattanasana, gives the function. And our commentator says, Pamanam Pachima Vahini Gachyati. Because of that, the prana actually enters the Sushumna in this case. In the case of this, when you do the posture, the prana enters the Sushumna itself. So there are the word chitta for that matter. It's a special technical talk. Simply translating it to mind may not give a proper meaning because there are so many Sanskrit words for the word mind itself. Similarly, Mooladhara. So Moola means base, root or base, and Adhara, that which supports. So it is the Moola. Moola is very important because when we are doing the bandhas, we understand we are going to contract that part which is the base, sometimes called ANS. That is the problem. When we call them as particular name, you get it. But the teachers will be able to tell us the way in which you contract it, you will get the bandhas feeling. So Moola, that is the place. It is the starting point. All these chakras are all supposed to be along the spine, and sometimes they are called to be the back of the spine or the side of the spine, but they are along the spine. And Mooladhara base, and there are various ideas because I told you about the lotus. There are 4 petals here in this lotus, and it is red in color. And lam is the lam, and in fact, the in the 7 chakras model also, the 5 represents the 5 Panchamahabhutas, and lam represents earth, and hence that is the Bijakshara assigned to Mooladhara. And Swadhishthana, Swa self, Adhishthana stays established, and sometimes it is translated as I have done here as the self is established, but it is not about exactly the self because the self is not established here alone because it is somewhere near the near our hridayam. So there is something linking this to that, and we are going to see it in the 10 chakras when we are going to see in the next slide. And it is the root of all sexual organs. Everything is there. In fact, the Swadhisthana region represents most important part. It is 6 petal, orange color, warm water represents. Manipuraka, Mani means jewel, Pura means Puraka, city like. It is in the navel, near the navel. 10 petal, the yellow, Ram is the Agni Bija. Anahata is unstuck. In fact, from here starts a very important chakra about which we get some information in the Yoga Tharavali also. Anahata. Ahata means struck. When we want any sound, we need 2 things to strike to get a sound. Here, not 2 things are struck, but there is a sound. And that sound is for the Nadhanusandhana, which is spelt in the, which is one of the methods for the Hatha Yoga Pratipika, Hatha Yogas. Heart 12, green, yam. Vishuddhi is pure, purest. Throat, and most important, 16, blue, it is talking about the space. Agnya means command, and it is between the eyebrows. Indigo, it is just 2 petals. And there are no secret syllables, but seed syllables are given differently by different people. Some may give or om, or top they will give om. So it differs from tradition to tradition. Sagasrara, 1,000 petal, and it is a crown, top of the head, 1,000 petal. multicolors and violet is sometimes given. And this is also one dimension only. For example, when we look into when we look into another wonderful text, a book called Yoga, The Path of Enlightenment by the Sringeri Acharya, he talks about the various chakras which was taught to him by the Lord Shiva in the dream. And there are various ideas. He talks about the lotuses in different dimensions. Now let us look at prana and chakras. Most important, because I told you chakras are the granthis or the joining points, junctions of the nadis. Nadis are the carriers of prana. So that is how prana and chakras link with each other. Let us understand prana by itself is matter. It's a part of matter. And only it is chakra by itself is a part of matter. Chakra or the junctions. And the nadis are also. It is only the prana which gives light to that. So otherwise, if you have a tube light or if you have a light or a fan for that matter, they are just like that. Unless you get the electricity into that and starts functioning. So prana and chakras are closely related. Prana has three important functions. One is longevity, another is wellness, and third is realization. So when one wants to live long, the prana is held inside the body. Hatha Yoga Pratipika talks about it, and that is why it says one has to hold the breath. It will say yatnena, with effort. One should not spend prana totally, or the length of the. One more thing is there is a link between breath, prana, and mind. We should understand it before we proceed further. This prana, which is inside us, I told you, we get it through the three sources. It is also carried by the vayus or the breath. Breath is the carrier of prana. Like the example that we give, often our teacher used to give is, if you look at the ancient model, if there is a well and if there is water inside, you push a bucket through a rope, and through the rope you take the water. Similarly, visualize that the breath takes the brings the prana. Breath is the carrier of prana. That is why in pranayama we use breath. Inhale, exhale, hold. And one more thing which Shiva Gita says is prana and mind are related. Prana is the carrier of the mind itself, chitta. So that is how the breath and mind are related. As is the breath, so is our mind. We talk about it. Let us come back to prana longevity. As long as the prana is held inside us, there is longevity, the death is not there. So the intention is to extend the prana. Wellness, it is the prana which gives wellness. In fact, illness is absence of prana or excess prana in some parts. Realization, final realization, which is the goal, is also through prana. Chakras, therefore, have a role in wellness and realization. Illness is on account of inadequate supply of prana to the part. Near every chakra, there are parts of the body. For example, in the ancient days, our teacher used to say, Deshkachar will say, and Krishnamacharya will say, if somebody is taken to him and says that he has a problem in his voice, then he will say his Vishuddhi chakra is in trouble. There is a problem in the Vishuddhi chakra. So prana is not there, either excess or inadequate. So we need to work on the chakras. More are working on the chakras, and the parts nearer by which do not receive the prana because of the malfunctioning. In fact, uh, I'm going to show you the next 10 chakras. He talks about it. At that time, I'll give you more idea. So Vishuddhi chakra is in trouble. Realization, when it happens. So first I talked to you about the longevity and wellness, absence of illness. Realization, when the prana is in Shushumna and it reaches Sahasrara. So when the prana is in Shushumna, the Hatha says that the person is a realized person. And that is what is also stated by the Yajnavalkya Samhita. He is a yogi whose prana is inside. And reaching Sahasrara, Even Bhagavad Gita talks about it in the last minute. If you bring the prana to the top Sahasrara and recite Om, you will reach me. So that is the way the prana is going into Shushumna. In the path, we have got the various chakras. So this is how the realization comes. Now, there is a book called Yoga Makaranda, which in our tradition, Krishnamacharya has written long back. And in that, in the introduction, he talks about 10 chakras. Mooladhara, near the end, lower end. In fact, look at the function and benefit. It conserves virya, strengthens the body. Swadhisthana, he takes 2 inches above the Mooladhara. And I told you the inches is according to our hand. All illnesses are destroyed. He says these chakras have to be activated. Please understand, have to be activated by pranayama and bandhas. Chaitanya, bring chaitanyatva. So by itself, they don't have the chaitanya because they are a part of the prakriti. So by using the prana, when the prana moves into the chakras, they get the chaitanya. And pranas have to reach them. And if you have to reach them, malas must be removed. These are all very prerequisite, important. Swadhisthana, all illness destroyed, good health is achieved. Manipuraka near navel, courage, self-realization even starts here itself. Surya, which is special in this teachings and text, 3 inches above navel, all diseases of abdomen are cured. Manas near the Anna Kosha improves brain functions, he says. And he says that there is all this, according to him, in the small introduction, he says these chakras are like a wheel and they are attached to each other. And even if one of the wheel gets into difficulty, he says all others will not work. Look, he talks about something like a mechanical wheel assembly. And he says that if they are attached to each other, we cannot say that only the lower chakra or the upper chakra is into difficulty or doesn't get the prana or chaitanyatva fully. No, others will also have difficulty. Anahada, near the heart, strengthens heart, good character and qualities. Vishuddhi, near throat. Swara Vijnana, he talks about it. Swara generally could be considered to be acoustics or the that comes, and God realization, according to him, comes when this chakra is activated. Chaitanyatva is done through pranayama and bandha. Sagasrara, just above the palate, whatever is wished is realized. Brahma Guha Lalata, just above the forehead, end of Sushumna, removal of the past karmas, which is the final. So now I want to talk about, if I have 4 minutes, I just want to talk about the role of Ashtanga Yoga. See, now what I have talked about is the 7 popular chakras and 10 special ways in which, see, look at it, and most important, the way in which we are using the chakras. First is, basically, in our tradition, the chakras are given a lot of importance. The belief of chakras are there. The idea of Kundalini is there. Kundalini is considered to be avidya, and the removal of the Kundalini removes every, wrong knowledge, etc. And the use of pranayama, particularly use of the fire inside the body, the right technique of breathing, we always teach. Apane Jukpati Pranam, how to contract the abdomen, etc. They are very important. And only when the chakras, the nadis near the chakras are cleansed and the chakras themselves get cleansed, prana moves in there. And yama and niyama, very essential prerequisite to get the full benefits. And Krishnamacharya in this tradition, they talk very highly about it. He says, without yama and niyama, nothing. Asana, to keep the spine erect and maintain the distance between the chakras. We talked about 2 inches, 3 inches. When the part of the body, when we are bending, when our natural tendency is to bend, and the kyphosis like, then these days the chakras are nearer, and the chakras distance must also be maintained, he used to say. Then only the free flow of prana happens. Neither it should be backward, forward. The body should be properly aligned, and asana has an important role in that. Pranayama, bandhas, helps removes in malas and make the prana chalanam better. Pratyahara, very important to remove all distractions. Dharana, Dhyana, and Samadhi. In the Ashtanga Yoga model, the focus on the chakras. I told you chakras are inside, and they are the points of focus. And yeah, if you take even the Patanjali's Yoga Sutra, Patanjali's Yoga Sutra does not talk about chakras or even Kundalini, but they talk about the special points in which you can focus. For example, Navi Chakre Kaya Vyuha Jnanam. It is not the chakra, it is that place. So when you focus there, so as I told you, when we focus on the chakra, and in our tradition, we do pranayama, cleanse the prana, we cleanse the nadis, prana automatically goes. The prana need not be cleansed, prana never gets dirty. It is the chakra, it is the nadis which get into dirt, and we cleanse them. And the moment it goes into the chakra. And then I inhale, focus on the chakra, then it gets the Chaitanya. So Dharana, Dhyana, and Samadhi are to focus on the chakras, maintain the focus, integrate, activate the chakras. And very interestingly, there is one other text, a lot of text, of which one is which I want to share with you. And Yoga Taravali of the great Adi Shankara, he says, Narecha Purair Anilasya Kumbaihi Sarvasu Nadhishu Vishoditasu Anakatagyo Bhakubhi Prakaraihi Anta Pravarteta Sada Ninadaha. Meaning is once all the nadis are purified by regulating exhalation and inhalation and retention, the nada that originates at the Anahata chakra expresses itself continuously in different forms. So look at how the chakra, Anahata chakra, has been used in the Yoga Taravali by Adi Shankara, and which talks about Madi. Anahate chedasi savadhanaihi abhyasa surai anubhuyamana samsam samstambhita swasamana prachara sadhrumbate kevala kumbha kashri. When the person focuses his mind gradually on the anahata and practices the three bandhas with courage, then slowly he experiences the previous state of kevala kumbhaka. त्रिकूटनाम्नि स्थितमेतन्द अन्तरङ्गे खे स्तम्भिते केवलकुम्भकेन प्राणानिलो भानु शशङ्कनाड्यौ विहाय सद्यो vilayam prayati. Through Kevala Kumbhaka, when the mind is focused on the Agnya chakra, we are getting into the another chakra. The prana, which travels in the Ida and Pingala, merges into Shushumna. So the references that I have used are Yoga Makaranta, The Serpent Power by Arthur, The Chakras by Leadbeater, Yoga Taravali by Adi Shankara, Hatha Yoga Pratipika, Swatma Rama, Yajnalkya Samhita, Yoga, very important talk, book Enlightenment and Perfection, of which I just touched it. There are good ideas about how the chakras are, how they are, and the great Mahaswami of the Shunkeri Mutt talks about it. And with this, I would like to end this talk. And if there are questions, I'd like to take.
Thank you very much, sir, for
Thank you,
the
sir. Yeah.
wonderful presentation. I think it has given a very nice holistic view, starting from nadis, prana, chakra, because many people they in fact talk about chakras, but the context is usually missed. How it is connected in the context of even Ashtanga Yoga and also pranas and nadis. Those contexts are usually missed from many of the people's talk. But I think you have combined all the things in a very nice way. I think many of the people would have understood in a very easy way if they have started from the beginning, of course. Thank you very much, sir, for the lucid presentation. In the chat box, I don't see any questions, but personally, some questions have come. Just let me go through and ask the questions.
Oh, you can put your PPT, thank you. That is in the beginning. Chat box, okay.
Yeah.
In modern physics, we see that matter and energy are linked. In yoga, we talk about Prakriti as matter and prana energy. See, this, to tell you the truth, I'm not a science person. I'm neither a physics person. This question often is asked about, or I have been thinking about it. I thought that let me leave them. Sometimes it will be very difficult to relate this particular matter energy, which particularly the modern physics talks about here. But the way I have understood, the way we understand is a bit important. We need to understand whatever way the way we call it matter, energy, um, in the wordings, we can see that there are minimum two concepts. One is consciousness, another is not conscious, unconsciousness. Unconscious here means the prakriti part. That prakriti part is that which helps the consciousness and purusha. Sankhya talks about it at length. And whether we take anything in Vedas, we are talking about the evolution. We talk about this Prakriti which comes out. In Sankhya, there is a model of evolution which talks about not only Prakriti, Moola Prakriti, from which it is a cause and effect. So we probably can easily understand that there is something inside which is conscious, and for which this body, which is the Prakriti part of it, works. Want to call it as matter because it is made up of something. Matter, it is material, it has got a material cause, whereas the consciousness does not have any cause. It is not made up of the three gunas. So I am unable to completely link the matter and energy because there appears to be something more evolving on the modern day physics.
Yeah, thank you, sir. One more question. I think at Krishnamacharya Yoga Mandram, when we say yoga, it's a kind of complete package which includes bodily movements, breath, including bandhas, pranayamas, and chanting, everything. So, in that context,
Yes.
of course, in the context of yama, niyama, food also comes into play. So, in
Yeah.
that context, can you just a little bit tell us about the music or chanting and its connection with the chakras as well?
Ah, ah. You are talking about chanting. Have I correctly heard you?
Yeah, music
Yeah,
as
yeah,
well as
chanting.
chanting, because in music we have the swaras also, which are also seven.
Yeah,
Do
yeah,
they have
yeah.
any connection directly? Of course, chanting is also
Yes.
a separate thing.
I would rather put more into chanting than in music. Chanting is very, very important in our tradition. And we have a special healing chants department. Krishnamacharya believed in the efficacy of chanting. Let us look at chanting from more than one way. Um, Chanting first and foremost is an act of exhalation itself. It is, if you do the chanting properly in a particular way, Om Sakana Bhavatu Sakanau Bhunaktu Sakaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So there is the Veda mantras have got swaras, and the swaras have to be properly done. In the Krishnama, in this tradition, they will emphasize very much on that. So let us look at the chanting first. It is it is applied in two ways. One is hearing the chanting. Someone who is an expert will chant, and often we will even make people hear the chant. I have been a recipient of the hearing mode of chanting, helping me in my illness when my teacher did it, when I was seriously laid with a fever. And he chanted for me, my teacher, for 3, 4 days. And in the fourth day, I just got up in the long back when we had chikungunya type of problem. I just hearing. I had known myself chanting. I have heard. I have learned from him. But he said, "You don't chant here." So the vibrations go inside, and we find that they work. For example, we use chants for easy delivery and all that. So there appears to be the vibrations of the chants, and they have to be chanted properly. They enter and into the system. Probably our system must be made up of some vibrations only, which I don't want to dabble on that. So there some appears to be some link we get. And second, when we chant, when we are asking people to chant, how does it help? One is when we chant, we also hear the chant. That is one thing. But when we chant, the air comes out. It is the air, any talk, any speech, the air comes out. And when the air comes out, they come through the mouth when we chant or do. And there are points in which they touch. And these are all the nadi ending points. According to the ancient, they said they vibrate certain nadis. That is why if you learn Sanskrit grammar, particularly Sanskrit language, they talk about the pronunciations and they give very much importance to the pronunciation, and not for the reason of anything else. There can be more than one reason, but the most important reason in pronunciation is if we pronounce it at a particular way, the air has to touch either the tongue or the teeth or the jaws, talu, kantha, so many things. These places they touch and they come out. And when they touch the nadis and they vibrate. And according to the ancients, the teachers, they say that these chants are retained like that for long years. They have not added anything because they have found that these types of vibrations bring certain mental calmness and health conditions. It improves. As I told you, I have been a recipient. We have been doing this. So chanting is done in more than one way. One is hearing them. In fact, sometimes we ask children to do postures and we give chanting so that their mind will be concentrated. Illness, chant vibrations help. Sometimes when we do it ourselves, for example, when we do Surya Namaskara, we will use certain mantras. See, my usage of in chanting, there is long passages, shorter mantras. The mantras are very important. They of course, have to be initiated. The mantras are supposed to be, held secret, and they help in protection. And we always in Surya Namaskara we use the mantra Om Hram Udhyan Adhyamitra Mahaha, like that. And the mantras have got a chandas. So they decide on the pattern of the number of seconds. They take care of the kala part. In particularly in pranayama also, we use mantras. Samantraka pranayama is the recommended pranayama by Krishnamacharya for healing purposes.
Thank you very much, sir, for the detailed answer. There is one more question in the general chat box. If it is visible to you, you can, or else I can read out.
Huh?
There is one more question in the general chat box, sir. Shall I
Chat
read it
box.
out? Yeah.
No,
Let
I
me
am
read
not
out.
able to.
Let
Let
me
me see.
let me read out,
Uh,
sir. No problem. At
uh,
what developmental stages chakras are formed in humans? Are they filled with impurities in the beginning and cleansed only by pranayama practices later?
I'm not able. Would you be able to just put it here, sir? Is it possible for you to put it into my
Yeah,
chat box?
yeah, yeah, yeah. One second, one second.
Can you just put it here because I'm not able to hear you on account of some.
Yeah, I had posted.
Ah, oh, uh, I'll I'll have to say. I mean, this a guess. Then my answer is not based on any authoritative. I cannot say that, or maybe I have not even asked this question with my teacher or anything. Let us look at it from the spiritual point of view and yogic point of view. At the moment when the child is born, and there are stages in which the development takes place, months in which it is taking place. I would say that when the moment the child starts breathing in and breathing out, we even get, according to my teacher, we get the nadi of the child in the nadi along with the nadi of the mother. I think there are chakras must be formed. That's all. because Vishnu Purana talks about consciousness of the child, Vishnu Purana, and it says when this child, when any child for that matter, is in the womb of the mother, it knows everything. It knows its past. It knows everything about its past, and it is really undergoing, according to Vishnu Purana, it really undergoes a lot of problems, and it says why I am here in this state. But the moment the child is delivered outside, it is covered by a vayu called Shatha Vayu. And the moment this vayu, something like a prana only, the moment it covers, the child loses all its past memories. It is not able to recall. In fact, one of the preceptors, or in the Vaishnava tradition, the great preceptor called Nammalvar, he is called Shatakopa because he is supposed to have won over the Shata Vayu. So the moment the Shata Vayu fills in, the child loses. All of us have lost. But all our past and we are able to get them once we start doing the pranayama practices. All of them, yes, they must have been filled with impurities, but there are also born Janma Siddhi. There are people who are born with yogic practices, and like our Ramana and others, they are probably their impurities or either minimum or no, not at all there, isn't it? At 11 years, he gets realization, goes there. So the impurities portion, that is why we called the Kundalini as avidya, which is actually the avidya itself. It exists in all of us, in everyone, but it gets activated by the past vasanas. It is my vasanas which activates my excess desire or my unnecessary hatred, unfounded fear. These are all part of the kleshas. These kleshas together are called Kundalini according to the tradition of Krishnamacharya. So our past vasanas we carry. In fact, we are born only because of past vasanas. If we do not have a vasanas, we are not born. We don't have to be born. And these past vasanas are carried in our system, in Sukshma Sarira also. Ms. Naikya talks about it. And in the Sukshma Sarira, this part, chakra parts are there. And it is because of the impurities here is actually the impurities are more in the form of vasanas, and these vasanas they activate this kleshas. So pranayama practices helps in cleaning, and we are all born with different types of vasanas. In fact, the fourth chapter of the Yoga Sutra says, Janma, Voshati, Mantra, Tapaha, Samadhi, Jaha, Siddhayaha. Siddhis are achieved through Janma. So, by birth. In the sixth chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Lord says, Arjuna says, if I do yoga but I don't realize what will happen, he says, you will be born into a family of yogis, yoga brashta vijayate. So there are people who are born by Janma Siddhis as yogis. So for them, the impurities will be very less or not there, and they go through the process of the life, and then they reach the highest. So yes, it is formed at very early stage itself.
Thank you very much, sir. Maybe one more last question. You had put it very nicely, like breath carries prana and the prana carries mind. So, from a neuropsychiatry or neuroscience point of view, if you can give us some ideas about how do, as a yogi, you
Ideas about?
conceptualize. As a
Huh.
yogi, how do you conceptualize about mental illness? Say, for example, calmness illness like depression, anxiety, these kinds of things, which would help us to conceptualize integrating this Western view with the yogic point of view as well.
Oh.
If you can talk about.
Mm, let me understand the question first. Number one, yes, every day my practice consists of this. See, the link, you are talking about the link between prana, mind, breath, isn't it? That is what probably you are talking about. Okay.
Yeah, and how that
If that is,
translates into mental illness or wellness,
ah,
especially mental illness.
yes, yes. Okay. Okay, good idea. For example, when we get people who says they are highly agitated, in fact, in today's context, to tell you the truth, we are getting more people who are mentally agitated than at the physical level. Physical level, the problems, if we take 100 cases, the maximum of 90% is mental agitation, stress. This often translate itself into physical. And they are so stressed that they are not even able to do posture, they are not able to even hold their position body. So that is where I told you we often start with chanting, make the mind calm, and then start with breathing exercises. The first thing that we do in breathing exercises, since you asked the question, is you will be doing good. You will not do any mistake. Can you give me, some people will ask question, can you give me some idea? You will not do any mistake, because let us understand one important point which I would like to share with you, as I forgot. In yoga, there are side effects. Yoga is not a panacea for everything. You cannot say that I'll do yoga and I'll get on without any difficulty. At Yoga Pratipika says, Ayukta Yoga Abhyasena Sarva Roga Samudbhavaha. All rogas, illnesses comes. Ayukta Yoga Abhyasam. The same thing with chakras. The chakras which we have been discussing about, and I have myself come across a lot of people who have been saying that they have done the chakra meditation and they are more confused, they have a lot of difficulty. And in fact, recently when I was giving a meditation to some student, and in our tradition, we use certain syllables, mantras. This student initially was having some ideas, but later the student said, I have gone through a lot of problems in the chakra meditation. Now I feel I am now relieved. So everything we need to be very careful. There will be side effects for everything in yoga also. So the first thing that one we do in breath is we make the person breathe, exhale properly. Once you ensure that the exhalation is good, then we go to inhalation. What does exhalation do? Exhalation makes the mind calm. It has been found very clearly. When you make the breath smooth, deep, and long, and particularly the exhalation, the mental agitations comes down. Supposing we take 10 people who consider themselves to have mental agitations, there will be two types of mental agitations. One is people have so much excess agitation, they are unable to do anything. For them, we need to calm their mind, where exhalation, prachardana vidaranabhyam va pranasya, chitta vikshepas are come down in Yoga Sutra, it says. So longer exhalation helps. In the case, that is what happens is in the longer exhalation, more of impurities are thrown out. In the case of those who are having medications and highly into a level of dullness, we need to work on the inhalation, which is Brahmana. We have found it. Slowly we need to introduce. First, we need to introduce exhalation and then introduce inhalation. So, works on the mind between Puraka and Rechaka, hold after them in terms of this way. One energizes, one relaxes.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Uh, I don't have any more questions. If you have anything in your chat box, you can say so. Otherwise,
No, I
okay.
would only love to say that thanks. And if there are any questions, I can say that Dr. Ravindra will receive. And if you have questions later, you can send it to me by email. I would be happy to answer. I consider this a great opportunity. Thank you so much for uh, giving me this opportunity to share some of my thoughts.
Thank you so much. In fact, it was a great opportunity for us to learn directly. Of course, we don't have the real gurus, most of them are gone. At least we have someone who is in that lineage, at least now. So, in that way, in fact, we were more privileged. And thank you so much for your wonderful presentation, sir. And thank you for all the participants.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Ramajay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. It was wonderful and nice to
Thank
hear from you. Thank
you,
you.
Indra.
Thank you.
Thanks
Thank you.
to everyone. Hope you all got some message. Thank you. Let me end with a chant. Om Bhadram Karnehi Shृणुयाम Devaah Bhadram Pashyemakshabhiryajatraah Sthirairangaiः Sushtuvagam Sastanubhiः Vyashaihem Devahitai Yadayuः Swasti na Indro Vruddhashravah Swasti na Pusha Vishwavihedaah Swasti nastarksho Arishtanemiः Swasti no Brihaspatirdhadhatu Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.